Hi, it's Cassidy.
And April.
We are fashion historians and co-hosts of Dress the History of Fashion, a podcast where we explore the who, what, when of why we wear.
Fashion history is about so much more than just pretty clothes. Sure, we're going behind the scenes of an exhibition on the famed Christian Dior,
but we will also be learning all about a host of other fascinating topics, such as the fashions of early American suffragettes.
Listen and follow on the iHeartRadio app or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Good morning, my healthier friends. Well, I hope you're getting healthy. You're listening to Enjoy Incredible Health with me, your host, Dr. David Vitko, the one who truly cares about your health and the health of your loved ones. And we are going to try to help all of you get much healthier within this show. And I have a very special guest today, and I'm excited about it. It just happened really in the last couple of days, so I didn't have a chance to give you warning ahead of time. But I think you'll enjoy it. So, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to help you get healthy. And that's my mission in life. I'm there, and I want you to be there. I want you to enjoy that comfort in knowing that you're healthy day in and day out. And you don't have to worry about sickness sneaking up on you. Because when you have the understanding that I have and that I instill in my patients, it is that you can have whatever level of health you like. You just have to work at it, and it has to be a focus of your life. So full disclosure, I'm a chiropractic physician with 34 years experience. I've been practicing now for 34 years, and I truly think that I've gotten to the point at which I really understand how to create health in the human body. I can't do it for you. All I can do is lead you down the path. You have to do it for yourself. That health is within each of us. You have to tap into it, though, and it has to be a focus of your life. So have a great Memorial Day, and don't forget to take a moment to pause and remember those who died so we could all live free. We have the potential to have the healthiest, most free, most wonderful country on earth, and it already is wonderful in my mind, but we could do much better. And health is one of those factors that I think we really need to improve. And honestly, when I see people move more toward the way I recommend to eat and to live, it relieves stress and the anxiety that people have in their minds. And I encourage you to get away from the news cycle and try to step back and take a deep breath and focus on your life and your family. That's what's most important. So for the first 5 to 10 years of my practice, I used the knowledge I received in my education to help patients. And I won't belittle that education. It was a typical, really medical education without the drugs and surgery part that medical doctors get. And as a chiropractic physician, I was encouraged to think about, the natural side of health. And I did. And that's what's brought me down this path. I can tell you that the knowledge that I have today is not, it's just slightly based in what I learned in school and in what I learned in the first few years of practice. I've grown over the last 20 years tremendously and have this really expanded knowledge of creating health. And that's what I try to get across to you every Sunday. And that's what I'm going to do with my special guest today. And we're going to talk more about that. But, I don't know, whatever school most doctors come from or all doctors come from, traditional medical education does not teach health creation. They're taught to deal with disease, and that's laudable, and I appreciate that, and I'm probably here today partly because of their education. But doctors in modern medicine are great for pulling your foot out of an early grave, as I like to say, but they don't teach you how to become healthy, and that's what you need to learn. And to do that, you need to immerse yourself in it. So every day you need to think or read something that leads you down this path. So it's a special ability, I think, that belongs to the health-building power, really, that was placed within each of us at birth. And, you can see that healing power at work in that if you cut yourself, it'll heal regardless if you put a Band-Aid on it or not. When you take a piece of meat off the meat counter in the store and cut it and put a Band-Aid on it, you can wait months and it's not going to heal. It's that life force. It's the energy that's behind life and health building that's in our body that really, truly is the healing part of it. And if you take that little analogy and think about it, you'll see that it's very true that, we have this life force and we need to work with it. So if you need a doctor who can help you get to the root of your health issues, consider calling my office for an appointment. I still help a lot of patients with spinal issues like sciatica, numbness and tingling in the arms and legs, headaches, low back pain, neck pain, and all these other musculoskeletal injuries. But more than that, I can help you restore your health in most cases, lowering cholesterol, triglycerides, and other blood factors that need adjusted naturally. We can help you reduce your blood pressure and correct most blood test issues to the point where your family doctor can tell you basically what he told one of my patients this past week. And it's always exciting for me when this happens, and especially when it's a nurse. I love this because nurses get so excited about this. Why didn't I know this information? Well, I didn't know it either. And so now we're all learning together. But when this patient's doctor said, you don't need this medication anymore, woohoo! That's like the greatest thing that could happen to me. I get really energized by that, and that carries me through several weeks after that. Every patient that I see, and it's common. Everybody who follows this advice and works in the direction of a more plant-based diet, a little bit of exercise, changing their lifestyle a little bit, they all get to that point. So if you want to have a taste of that, call Denise to schedule an appointment this week. The number is 330-482-9550. That's 482-9550. We'll treat you like we'd like to be treated, and we can help you lose weight. That's the easy part. And we can help you to get truly healthy. That's 482-9550. And if we're not there, leave a message. I promise you we'll call you back within a day for sure, or sometimes right after. So you'll never feel any pressure to join any programs at our office. We're not all about that. So now today we have a really special return guest. This is my first guest coming back. I'm so excited that I didn't insult him or anything or rub him the wrong way, so he didn't want to come back. So, and he is one of my unwitting mentors. That is, that he had no clue he was my mentor for 30 years or more, but I did follow him and numerous other doctors and learned a great deal from them. He's one of the really smart doctors that I've enjoyed following for decades. And this should tell you about his commitment to helping people live healthier lives. He's retired now, but he still writes a weekly newsletter and takes time out to come on my show, and I don't know, maybe he does some other shows and stuff here on Sunday morning. I mean, you're retired, you're going to go do radio interviews. It just speaks volumes about the guy's commitment to health, and he's going to share his keys to health with us. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. Dr. Gabe Mirkin is back for another visit. Dr. Mirkin, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dave.
I am so excited to have you back again. And you know this because you did radio for years. You kind of hope you don't step on anybody's toes and get them to the point where they're like, yeah, I don't want to go back on there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thrilled that you're back.
Well, I'm delighted.
You are a gem, too, and I enjoy, writing. Folks, I drop Dr. Mirkin an email once in a while, just picking his brain, and I like to understand, we don't have enough respect for people that have a lot of experience in this country. I don't think the respect that we should have. And the amount of knowledge that you accumulate over the years is incredible. And so I look at you as a wealth of knowledge, and I read your newsletters every week, and I really do enjoy them. And I encourage my listeners, and I know quite a few of them have subscribed, and I hope you see that these people are listening, because that's, to me, one of the most rewarding things, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would. I'm very glad for all that. Thank you.
So when you actually get feedback or you hear from somebody, that really helped me. I have to assume that that's like one of the most rewarding things for you. You're not out there trying to make millions of dollars doing it or anything like, a lot of these guys that are the experts in healthcare and all, and, selling nutritionals and all that kind of stuff. You're just offering good, sound information. How how hard is it for you to kind of balance all that and to keep writing? I mean, how many years have you been retired, Doc?
I've been retired now for 11 years.
And that's a long time. Do you ever get the temptation just to coast and just to go, well, I've done enough of this?
There's a real danger in becoming inactive. It's called dementia, and it affects all of us. Do you know that 30% of all humans, all Americans over 85 are demented?
I believe that.
30%, that's very high. And that comes from not moving and not thinking is a major factor. And we're finding out now, the literature, this is not an opinion, the literature is that if you want to prevent dementia, you will do things that challenge your brain and challenge your body, and you have to follow a diet. And that's all that you talk about, diet and exercise. Very important in preventing dementia. And incidentally, this is an incredible statistic. Exactly the same risk factors for heart attack are also risk factors for dementia with aging.
I agree with that, and that's a phenomenal statistic. And so, it's what I tell my listeners all the time is, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to become healthy. You just have to apply certain concepts every day and just build routine into your life and build a healthy routine in. And it all really comes down to habit. It's what you do every day.
And we can explain that now with a single term, inflammation, and I'll do that very quickly. Your immunity is good for you. When a germ gets in your system, your immunity can tell that germ doesn't belong, so you produce cells and chemicals to kill that germ. That's good. Now, as soon as the germ is gone, your immunity is supposed to dampen down. But if you do anything to keep your immunity active all the time, that's inflammation, your immunity uses the same cells and chemicals that it does to kill germs to attack you. It punches holes in your arteries to cause plaques to form. It breaks off the plaques to cause heart attacks. It damages your nerves. It weakens your muscles. It damages your brain, and so forth. So you want your immunity to dampen down, and you dampen down your immunity by eating the right foods, by exercising, avoiding alcohol and smoke and recreational drugs, and not being overweight.
For sure. And, we can see that immune response a lot in allergic responses. For instance, every spring I would get terrible allergies since I was in chiropractic school back in the 80s, and I was exposed to a lot of pine pollen. Every year I would suffer. And since I've changed my diet, that's improved tremendously. And not only would I have an acute response, but that immune response, that response that my body had that made me miserable lasted for weeks beyond that initial exposure. And I think that's what you're talking about. Like your immune response almost goes into overdrive. And
that's correct. An allergy is your immunity against infection turned on not by an infection, but by turning on the same way by certain pollens. And in your case, in March and April, the tree pollen comes out, and May, June, the grass pollen comes out, and people are attacking the pollen when they breathe it in exactly the same way they'd attack a germ entering their bodies.
Right, and it's funny that I tell patients all the time, my patients and my listeners, that since I've been following a better diet, over the last few years, my allergies have improved incrementally to the point this year I really don't have any allergic response at all. And we've had pretty severe pollen this year. So you can get better, folks, but you have to do what it takes. And it's not an overnight fix. It's something that you need to persist with. And it's like Dr. Mirkin's talking about, even with your dementia type issues, your short-term memory that a lot of people have a hard time with as they get older. Those things are partly if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. But on the other end of it, physiologically, you have to take care of your cells in your body. And the way you do that is by feeding it the things that it needs and avoiding the things that interfere with that good health and stoke that immune response. And, Doc, you probably saw this even in practice when you practice, too. I typically do a C-reactive protein blood test on patients, and inevitably, everybody who starts to follow a more plant-based diet, even if they're not perfect, that inflammatory marker, that C-reactive protein in the blood, comes down dramatically. And
yes, there's good solid evidence to show that there are lots of markers. C-reactive protein is the most used. Markers of overactive immunity. And when your C-reactive protein goes up, that means your immunity is trying to attack a germ, or it's staying active because you're eating the wrong things, or you have a disease that's turned on your immunity, and you have to work to turn it down. You will get better when your immunity dampens down to a certain level.
Right, and I saw that in stark realization when I had a patient with rheumatoid arthritis and he was also diabetic, and was able to get past all that, and all his inflammatory markers, including the rheumatoid markers, all decreased substantially to the point where his doctor was really amazed at what a change it was, and it was nothing but diet and a little bit of exercise.
Well, there is accumulating evidence to show that rheumatoid arthritis, a horrible disease that destroys the joints, improves when a person goes on a vegan diet, avoids meat and sugar, and exercises. In fact, arthritis patients who don't move their joints worsen severely. The whole key when you have arthritis is to keep on moving and stop when you have pain.
Right, that does make sense. And many of my patients don't really feel like exercising initially, but after they stay with a good diet for several weeks, they start to get an urge to exercise.
And they try to exercise every day, stopping each day when the pain increases when they're moving. The whole key to treating arthritis is movement without impact.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And it amazes me, the people who come into me and we talk about a plant-based diet and things. And some people aren't willing to jump right on 100%. But even a 50% improvement in a diet makes substantial improvement in their health overall. And,
there are hundreds of papers now on red meat and inflammation, and that's very interesting. Do you know that when humans eat red meat, it turns on their immunity? And this is fascinating. All mammals contain a protein called NEU5GC. And that protein is not found in Homo sapiens, in humans. So you recognize a germ by different surface proteins. Well, when you eat meat, you absorb NEU5GC, which all mammals have except humans, except Homo sapiens have. So you recognize meat as a foreign germ attacking you. You turn on your immunity, and you make antibodies specifically against NEU5GC, and that's why red meat increases your risk for heart attacks and strokes and all the inflammatory diseases.
So, like the immune response in general, if you did that once in a while, it's probably not going to make a big difference in your overall health. Your body would react to it, respond to it, and be done with it. But when typical American diets include meat every meal 3 times a day.
That's a mistake, because the data is overwhelming that people who eat meat every day are at high risk, significantly increased risk for heart attacks. And we've known about red meat and heart attacks since the 1940s. So you're talking about 70 years now of knowledge that people are still not accepting.
Yeah, I always look at that a little skeptically and why it's not accepted. And I think a lot of that has to do with, well, let's face it, medicine is a business and healthcare in general is a business. And so until we find a way to monetize getting people to eat healthfully, I'm afraid we're going to have an uphill battle with trying to get modern medicine on in this whole battle. Like I just read an article the other day about how a more vegetarian diet or a more plant-based diet absolutely helps. Well, no, I know what it was. It was an article about psyllium and taking in fiber drinks actually helps in many ways with diabetes, and especially type 2 or those who have prediabetes. And, I wrote a rebuttal of the article, and I said, well, this is great, but we know that a more plant-based diet turns that whole picture around. So if we can get all of healthcare involved in this. Okay, we know what works. Why don't we push this? If our ultimate goal is to get people well and have a healthy population, how is it we can mobilize all of healthcare to get behind this message?
Well, the only way you can do that is to have the government step in, because business interests are going to sell their business products. And that's what we see from the Egg Board, the Cattlemen's Association, the Dairy Council, the sugar industry, the sugar drinks. It's incredible how much advertising comes out that suggests that it's healthful to add sugar to your food, to drink sugar drinks, and eat red meat, the three most destructive things you can do with your lifestyle.
Right, but I would argue that the government will never do it. Just like these organizations set precedent, or they set standards in our diets through advertising and things, they also do it through the government, through lobbying, and they control government policy. And that's, I think, one reason that we haven't seen the government come out, 100% behind a more plant-based diet. There's too many dollars being traded there. And
we can go beyond that. Coca-Cola and the sugar industry paid for extensive research so that Harvard Medical School published articles saying that sugar was good and helpful in the 1960s, because their Department of Nutrition was financed by the sugar industry to a large degree.
We'd like to think that we're beyond that at this point, wouldn't we? But I'm afraid we're not. There's still a lot of that going on.
Well, we have a lot of intelligent, honest people doing research, but there are some bad cookies in the market, yes.
Yeah, and that research, I think, is tremendous. And I'm in the National Institutes of Health every day and looking at research. And there's a wealth of research out there supporting exactly what you and I are saying here. But it's not really publicized the way it should be. I believe it should be really pushed out to the public to let them make decisions based on this information, and simplified. And that's really what I try to do on the show, is to make things simple enough for people to understand. And Gab, take something from this, and that's what we're going to talk about. We'll be taking a break soon. When we come back after the break, then I really want to get into some of the things you recommend for people to help improve their habits daily. And Doc, for instance, what's your typical day like as far as a diet goes? What do you typically do, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, all right. First of all, you read a lot about intermittent fasting, but and I'll go through that very quickly, or we can come back afterwards. But intermittent fasting really means not to eat late at night, because you're supposed to eat and be active, not eat and go to bed. So we don't eat after 6 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock next morning. That's very important.
That's a great habit.
That controls your blood sugar.
Right.
The second thing that we do is we have a plant-based diet. So we'll have oatmeal for breakfast, or just an orange, and then we go out and we ride about 150 to 200 miles a week.
That's
and
incredible.
It's fast riding in a group.
Hey, just tell everybody what your age is, too, if you don't mind.
I'm 84.
So 84. Well, I was giving you 85. I'm sorry about that, but but that.
Well, that's a month away, but
well, happy birthday in advance. But there have to be very few 84-year-olds that still ride a bike that far every week.
But in the retirement community in which I live, we have a large group of couples who ride with us regularly.
Well, that's a whole different subject. Maybe we should say, hey, when you look for a retirement community, make sure it's one that is very active. Yeah, shuffleboard's okay, but riding bikes or walking is much better, I would think.
Oh, yes. And after breakfast, we have one large meal. We do snack, and we snack only on nuts, fruit, and vegetables, and beans, and whole grains.
Healthy
and
stuff.
then we have a meal, say, at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's it, except for snacks, and we do not snack after 6 o'clock.
Let's pick that up when we come back, Doc. Thank you very much for listening. Hang in there, folks. We'll be back with more.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Okay, grab a pencil and paper, folks, because I want to share something with you that you'll want to write down. And I really hate advertising for myself. It's one of the reasons I'm not retired at 60 years old, I guess. If I had pursued that better, I probably would have. But I don't mind doing this because it's all about helping you. Honestly, it's what I live for at this point. And I just want you all to understand that path to health, and I want you to work on that and make it a part of your life. So if you want to become truly healthy, you need to make it the focus of your life. It doesn't mean that you make everything else secondary. Your family is most important, and your spiritual life and your work and all that's very important. Life every day is center stage for us, but we have to, in the back of our minds, always have this little voice talking to us that makes us want to eat healthy and get a little bit of exercise every day to build these healthy habits in that will make the difference. So, I'm trying to build a website along with this show, Enjoy Incredible Health, where I can have everything for you there, all original articles that I've written, all the podcasts of my shows, and I'm working on putting links into some of these fantastic people like Dr. Mirkin and others who really have good, valid information. They're not just trying to sell you a bunch of supplements that aren't going to make a difference in your health. And so this week I'm making an effort on my website, drvitkohealth.com, to really add those things. I've got some great articles. All my podcasts are on there. You need to go to drvitkohealth.com and start exploring this site. Spend some time there, look at different things that are there, and come back regularly because it's going to change weekly at least, I promise, and sometimes daily because I really enjoy sharing this information with you. That's drvitkohealth.com. And so we're going to bring Dr. Mirkin back on here. Hello, Dr. Mirkin. Are you still there? Thanks for waiting. I apologize for the delay there, but so you've been down this road, so I don't feel like I have to apologize to you. How many years did you do radio?
Oh, probably 40 years.
That's an incredible run. So I'm coming up on a year here. I know my audience is going, really? It's been a year? But that goes fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
How often were you on the radio?
I was on, we were in 120 markets every night for 3 hours. Well, 1 hour and then 2 hours and then 3 hours.
That is incredible. I know 1 hour show doesn't seem like enough. It's many times I run out of time trying to get through things. But how do you do a 3 hour show every night?
Oh, I had to prepare because you have to do an opening piece for everyone with a different subject. So I would lead in. The point is that when you do something over and over, it's called repetition, and you get better at it by just doing it so many times. It's like dancing or hitting a baseball or anything else. Right.
Of course, the danger is that it becomes totally routine, and then you maybe don't focus on it as much sometimes, too.
Well, the scientific literature, as you know, there are hundreds and hundreds of new articles every single week. The point is to skim them and pick out what's important.
It's much easier now, isn't it, with the internet?
Oh, it's incredible. When I started, I had to go to the library and spend all my weekends in the library. Now I do it right at my home on my desk.
I share that
Everything.
background.
I have all kinds of services, so they know what I'm looking for, and they come in into the computer regularly, so I don't have to search much anymore.
Your news feeds, yes. And this is what I try to impart to people. Look, if you really want to have this healthful living become part of your consciousness, part of actually your subconscious, it's what's going to drive you to live healthier is when you just saturate yourself regularly with this information. And
the key, Dave, is to live with somebody who has common interests with you, because a diet, for example, starts in the supermarket. If you bring the wrong things home, you're not going to follow that diet.
Exactly.
You have to keep your house clean. And that means everybody else in the house has to be sharing your principles. So
with your wife, are you both on board originally, or did one of you drag along and come in later on the whole health eating?
Well, my wife is an interesting person. She had her own lifestyle till we met, but she's been coinciding her interests with mine, and we do virtually everything together.
That's excellent. And, I see that with patients all the time. It's great when one person comes in and can rub off on the other. As a matter of fact, usually it'll be the lady, the wife that comes in, and we'll get her started on a diet, and she'll start losing weight, and she'll just be mad because her husband actually has done it too and has lost more weight than she has. So.
Well, let me go further than that. It's more important what you eat than how much you eat. For years, we found out overwhelmingly that calorie restriction, counting calories, doesn't work. It doesn't work in the long run. The studies paid for, where you pay every week and you go and sit in a group and you learn all kinds of things about restricting calories. The people lose 12 pounds on the first year. And then in the second year, they've only lost about 6 to 9 pounds. And by the third year, they've gained it all back. So calorie count, and the greatest loser, remember that?
Yes.
Well, all those people with starvation and brutal exercise lost 100, 150 pounds. 3 years later, they had most of that weight back.
Right.
There is no way that calorie restriction works. It's what you eat. And the rules are straightforward. Watch out for refined carbohydrates because regular carbohydrates are good for you. And when you're trying to lose weight, you can eat all the vegetables you want without restriction.
Exactly. And so that's one of the reasons that the plant-based diet is so perfect. Because you naturally eat fewer calories, which, hey, let's be honest here, calories are important. You know, when you take in too many calories every day, no matter what the source, you're going to gain weight. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, but there's a key factor here called absorption. Vegetables are full of a component called soluble fiber.
Right.
You can't break it down, so you can't absorb it. So soluble fiber in all kinds of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and nuts pass all the way to your colon. But your colon is loaded with 100 trillion bacteria. That's more bacteria than you have cells in your body. And these bacteria do have the enzymes to break down soluble fiber. And they convert soluble fiber into chemicals called short-chain fatty acids that is getting a lot of research now. And these short-chain fatty acids that come from soluble fiber, primarily in vegetables, lower cholesterol, lower high blood pressure, reduce inflammation, prevent cancer, prevent heart attacks, delay aging, help prevent dementia and depression. It's absolutely incredible about the research coming to show the benefits of soluble fiber. That's the advantage, and that's why we say when you're trying to lose weight, don't count calories, because it's the calories you absorb, not the calories that pass out, that determine how much weight you gain. And when you pile on vegetables, and there's no limit, there's no restriction to vegetables, when you pile on vegetables, you get more soluble fiber, more short-chain fatty acids, and a greater lowering of high blood pressure and cholesterol, and dampening down of inflammation.
Right, so that also then supports my contention that slower weight loss is better, and the studies that we've seen, when you lose it slowly by adapting your diet, you keep it off much longer.
Yes, and there's something else very, very interesting. The faster you eat, the more calories you eat, and the more calories you absorb. This is absolutely fascinating. Do you know that your brain tells you when you're full?
Exactly.
But that's a very slow reaction. It takes a minimum of 20 minutes, no matter how much you eat, for your brain to tell you that you're full. So if you eat slowly and chew slowly, you will eat less. If you eat your food very fast, that will increase the calories you take in markedly.
Well, that 2 pieces of advice you just gave made it worth the price of admission to this show today, at least. So you basically that vegetables are a much better way to lose weight and improve your health, and to take your time and eat slowly because it takes time for your brain to figure out that you're full.
And the other interesting thing is that liquid calories are more damaging. Because remember something, when you eat something, you have a muscle at the end of your stomach, and no solid food is allowed to pass from your stomach into your intestines, because if solid could pass into your intestines, you would die from an intestinal obstruction. So when you eat food, your pyloric sphincter at the end of your stomach closes, and then your stomach squeezes a soupy liquid into your intestines, and only the soupy liquid can pass. And this is incredible. Do you know when you drink orange juice, that's liquid and just orange juice with nothing added, you get an immediate high rise in blood sugar, which is harmful. On the other hand, when you eat an orange, it takes up to 4 to 5 hours for that orange to pass through your stomach. So orange juice, all fruit juices, are harmful because they increase the immediate rise in blood sugar, which increases insulin in a response, and insulin increases your risk for cancer and deposition of more body fat. So you're not supposed to drink fruit juices. You are supposed to eat lots of fruits because of the delayed absorption, primarily.
So that makes me fear for a lot of these children growing up whose parents think that if they're giving them fruit juice instead of sodas or tea or iced tea or something like that, that they're doing them a good service.
Well, the current literature shows unanimously that there's no difference between a Coca-Cola and orange juice. They cause the same high rise in blood sugar. They cause the same high rise in insulin, and a high rise in insulin will shorten your life.
Well, a non-thinking person would say, well, thank you, then. That means I can drink Coke, right? It's no more harmful than orange juice.
Well, there's something more. Artificial sweeteners are now changing your colon bacteria to be harmful. You are better off, you get a higher rise in blood sugar after eating artificial sweeteners that are not absorbed until they reach your colon because they change your colon bacteria.
Right, right. So, let's go back to the fruit and vegetable thing and the benefits of that in the long term. So as far as like insulin goes and the way your insulin response is in the body to foods, when you eat, let's say you eat fruit, and I remember you saying this in the past show and in your newsletter that, so for instance, if you ate an orange basically instead of drinking orange juice, what's the difference in the way your body responds to that?
Well, you get a substantially lower rise in blood sugar and a substantially lower rise in insulin. And the reason is, again, the soluble fiber. Soluble fiber in fruits is a gel, and it sticks to the sugar. So when you eat an orange, you're getting the sugar bound to soluble fiber, and I told you soluble fiber can't be absorbed in your upper intestinal tract. So the sugar attached to soluble fiber is carried all the way down to your colon, so you don't get rather than being absorbed immediately like it is in a liquid drink. And that's why added sugar is so harmful. Do you know that if you measured the same amount of sugar in a cookie and in an orange, exactly the same amount, you'd get more than double the rise in blood sugar from the cookie than you would from exactly the same amount of sugar in an orange, because the orange contains soluble fiber.
That is incredible, and I think that speaks to a lot of people who think that, you can take this supplement or that supplement. It's like an individual supplement. In a lot of ways, we're just learning how these nutrients interact with each other, and the parts of the food are used in the body, partly for our own good.
Yeah, and I don't know how you'll accept what I'm about to tell you. There have been 13 studies in the last year showing that people who take vitamin pills die earlier than people who don't take vitamin pills and are at increased risk for certain types of cancer.
Well, I would argue that the reason for that is that not only the fact that they're taking this concoction of man-made chemicals often, but also the fact that they rely on that to promote their health, and they think that diet is then secondary in a lot of cases.
Well, there's a chemical explanation for why you don't really get any benefit from taking vitamin pills unless you have a deficiency. And the reason is that most vitamins are enzymes that make reactions go. If chemical A is going to chemical B and release energy, it has to accumulate chemical B. That's your vitamin is doing that. Now, when you eat food, chemical A goes to chemical B, and there are other components that are not vitamins that send B to C to D and end up as carbon dioxide and water, and they pass from your body. But when you take a vitamin pill, A is going to B, and you're accumulating B because you don't have the other chemicals that you get in food that would further break down B. Accumulating B can be harmful. You don't want to accumulate chemicals in your body. You have natural processes to keep chemical reactions moving so you don't accumulate products that shouldn't be there.
Right. Hey, Dr. Mirkin, I really appreciate you being here today, man. You are a wealth of knowledge and a great gentleman and a great doctor. I very much appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back one day and let's talk some more.
Well, good. Thank you for your kind words.
Thanks so much, sir, and have a great weekend.
Right.
Take care. So you're listening to Enjoy Incredible Health, and we'll be back in just a minute to finish up. Thanks so much for listening.
Welcome back to Incredible Health with Dr. David Vitko.
Okay, we just have a few minutes left, and was that a great interview, folks? I love getting these guys on who I never in my life dreamed I would have an opportunity to speak with one-on-one and to bring their message to you. It's my passion, my goal in life, for you to learn from the people that I've learned from, because these guys have seen it all. Whatever you think you know about health, and I mean this with no offense, but you know nothing. And I still know nothing sometimes, I think, and I live with this stuff and I study it day in and day out. But guys like Dr. Mirkin, he's got twice the experience I have. I'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. And I want to deliver that information to you. And so I've got a lot of other guests lined up for the next year. And I'm hoping that I can keep this going for at least another year to spread this knowledge. And in 2 weeks, I believe it's June 9th, I think is a Sunday, but I don't have a calendar right in front of me. But I think it's June 9th. I'll have one of my patients on who's had spectacular results. Cholesterol down 73 points. Triglycerides down 200 points in just a short time. And, I don't want to really jump on that and say everybody needs to get this stuff down really fast. But when you eat the foods your body is designed to, it happens at a different rate. Some people's numbers come down very quickly, others gradually, but they all come down. And shouldn't that tell us something? Shouldn't that tell us that those are the foods we are designed to eat? So, when you have illness, when you have high cholesterol, you have high triglycerides, you have high blood pressure, and you start eating a different way, and all those numbers improve, doesn't that tell you that that's what you need to do to be healthy? To me, it's a no-brainer. It's the most logical, most sensible thing we could ever do. And you've got it in your own power to make that change. So guys like Dr. Mirkin, by the way, you need to sign up for his email newsletter. Yeah, some of it's a little bit sciencey. He's got some research in there, but he explains it in a way that everyone should be able to understand it. And if you don't, you can email me through my website, and I'll explain to you the difference, if you have a real big question. But go to Dr. Mirkin, that's DrMirkin.com. drmirkin.com, and sign up for his free weekly, he calls it an e-zine. It's his newsletter. It's his weekly newsletter. The guy's phenomenal. So you've been listening to Enjoy Incredible Health with me, your host, Dr. David Vitko. I really hope you're paying attention, folks. I don't know what else I can do to help you to see the light on this. Please, this week, enjoy your holiday this weekend, and then this week, get started. Let's get healthy together. Talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.